This video is going to be a film study focus on what Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and to a lesser extent Kenneth Walker and Rashid Shaheed were able to do in the pass game. The third time this year where Seattle has been at or just below 400 yards of offense against this Rams defense. The only difference here is that they didn't turn the football over. And in fact, if you backtrack the Rams games in 2025, games that they did not get a turnover defensively. Week 5, a 26-23 loss to the 49ers. They don't get a turnover. Moving forward a lot, obviously, that you've got the 21-19 win over the Seattle Seahawks in Week 11 at home in L.A., where Seattle turned the football over 4 times, nonetheless still stayed really close and had a chance to win the game, in the final couple of minutes. Week 13, the Rams go down to Carolina, lose 31-28. Again, don't force a single turnover. They did defeat the Lions 41-34 this season in a game where they didn't force a turnover. Lost to the Falcons in Week 17 when they didn't force a turnover. You get the idea. Last week they beat the Chicago Bears in the NFC divisional round despite allowing 417 yards of offense to Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and crew. This week, Sam Darnold and those guys took care of the football, and that helped them basically eliminate the Rams despite, another really high-octane or high-output game from Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, and Sean McVay's offense. We'll get the film started here. I will focus a lot of this video, obviously, on JSN. Cooper Kupp, the clutch third down catches. One completion to George Holani in the third quarter, or perhaps it's second quarter, my apologies. But we're going to start this off with the 3rd and 5, the initial 3rd and 5, 51 yards to Rashid Shaheed, all the way up top. First of all, Seattle is giving them a somewhat unusual backfield alignment. Yeah, Kubiak likes to put JSN in the backfield. In this case, he's motioned Cooper Kupp back there. But what makes this really fun to talk about and kind of examine is that once he sets up Cooper Kupp in the backfield, I call this a joker set, he's going to motion out the running back to the opposite side. So you've really played a lot of games with the coverage structure of the Rams here, and that Cooper Kupp motioned into the backfield to set up 2, quote, running backs back there. In addition, and then he's going to motion one of them out. In addition, here's JSN's route at the bottom side of the screen. This safety is certainly occupied by it. I think this safety is really occupied by the route from Cooper Kupp. A little bit late, he's going to be open, but at that point, Sam Darnold has already made his decision where to go with the football. It's up top. Shaheed wins, complete win off the jump against, I believe that's Darius Williams, who was with the Rams before, went to Jacksonville, played really well for 1 or maybe 2 seasons, and he's since returned, at least on this rep. Shaheed really made him look bad. Kupp ends up being open on this one late, to be honest with you, and this is the first possession. If you don't convert this one, defense had just got to stop, by the way. If you don't convert this one, and you're punting the football in the first possession, giving Matt Stafford and the Rams an opportunity, to go down and take the lead. This really set the tone, if you ask me, and kind of showed you the confidence level that Sam Darnold was playing with. I think he sees this safety here kind of moving down or squatting down. In fact, both safeties, neither one of them is taking any backpedal steps at all. Like I said, it's a 3rd and 5, so that's probably, part of the reason for that. Really poor loss from a Darius Williams standpoint, if you ask me. But Rashid Shaheed has got incredible acceleration and speed, beats him up top, 51 yards, really make a statement, on the first 3rd down of the game. And that trend continued, right? Seattle finished, I think, 7 of 13 on 3rd downs on the night. Unfortunately, that was the only, real offensive contribution for Shaheed, but he's been, a weapon throughout his tenure here in Seattle. We all hope that, he resigns, that they're able to, to bring him back for the future, because to have him, JSN, and Kupp on the field at the same time, it just creates so many matchup problems, and they're very versatile. I love this play call, and I'm going to talk about Kubiak. I'm not just going to talk about the pass game here in this video, Sam Darnold and the receivers. I'm going to talk about Kubiak's play calls and the design. I love this. The very next snap, after the 51-yarder to Shaheed, get the ball to your best player, and it's JSN up to the top side of the screen. I love this strategy. You're getting the off corner look here. So Darnold and JSN, they're on the same page. Maybe at some point, this is a type of thing where Darnold looks over and sees it, but I don't, and does this independent of play call, but I don't really see it that way. Maybe Darnold had already checked here, but the corner could certainly change his alignment from the time when Darnold looked at him. I guess he's actually still looking at him. So it's quite possible that this is actually a run play to the bottom side now that I look at it again, but you got too high safety structure, and it's the quick hitch, whatever people want to call it. Smoke screen is what people call it nowadays. In the old days, it was just a hitch. But tremendous agility, quickness for JSN. He's always been one of those guys who, when he catches the football, actually before he catches the football, he knows what he's going to do. Watch how he's putting his right foot in the ground because he's going to plant just as he's catching the football and eliminate, once again, that's Darius Williams over there on the right side from the Seahawks offense perspective. He's as dangerous as any player in the NFL. You guys know if you've listened to my content much this season, I think he's the best receiver in the NFL if you're just focusing on 2025. Of course, people are going to talk about, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I would take all those guys on my team as well. But from an efficiency standpoint, explosiveness and reliability in his third year, JSN, all he's done is just make the price tag go up. Seattle, fortunately here, was able to take a 7-0 lead, I think 3 plays later. We're really focusing on the pass game, what Sam Darnold and those guys were able to get done, despite some pressure being put on Darnold. He was sacked, I think, 3 times. I believe the Rams had 7 quarterback hits. So we moved to the second possession. The Rams were able to get a field goal with score 7-3. This is going to be the 3rd and 2. The completion of JSN for 9 yards. The one-handed catch that really ultimately looks extremely unrealistic. It's the type of thing that if it happens on, like, NCAA or Madden, you say, no one catches the football like that. Yeah, they do. It's someone with the talent and the hands and the coordination of a JSN. First of all, the Rams are in a 1-high safety structure, and they end up playing man post-snap. So here's the route that's run by JSN. You're going to see this dynamic often in this film. And it's not always, I should say, Rashid Shaheed running the clear-out route and JSN running underneath of it. Rashid Shaheed's route is basically going to occupy this corner, get him out of that space, and that, along with the timing of the option fake. Yes, I don't know about you, but I was like, what is this play? It's a 3rd and 2, and Sam Darnold is, he's a right-handed quarterback, so if you are going to run some option look, you think, okay, you're going to do it to the right because you're not an option team, and no matter how much practice time they have, Darnold isn't running the option stuff, and you can see it from his footwork here to the left-hand side. My suspicion is it's just to hold this guy a little bit, such that once Barner chips, actually he kind of slings the DB out of the way, and Barner releases into the flats. That's going to hold this inside linebacker enough that Darnold can throw it over the top to JSN. Like I said, it's a surprising look post-snap to see Sam Darnold open, in the pistol, and make it look like an option play. Clearly, there's no read there. It's a perfectly lofted throw over the top to JSN. The ball just sticks there. Like I said, it's like something from a video game. And for people who, no one at this point is probably watching who isn't a Seahawks fan. But for those who aren't Seahawks fans, they would look at this and say, oh, that's a great catch. Man, you get something like that from JSN. Maybe not every game, but you certainly get it in pregame. Twice I've been fortunate to be able to see some pregame film that a friend of mine had. Basically, the idea is we like to look at pregame drills. We always like to look at the drills that teams do, whether it's high school, college, or the NFL, and JSN is somebody who practices stuff like that. It's an unbelievable play. There's a ton of great plays by receivers in this matchup. Tight ends as well, right? The big tight end for the Rams. This one, to me, is the defining play of this matchup because of how clean and easy, really, JSN made it look. Give you the same play here from the end zone angle. A lot going on. This inside linebacker appears to be signaling something to the Rams' right, our left-hand side of the screen. I do wonder if the Rams have an idea of the play that's coming. And what I mean by that is, look at what they've done with the edge defender. Compressed him down inside of the C-gap between the tight end and the left tackle, and then walk this safety up, presumably to go off the edge while the inside linebacker covers Barner. JSN all the way from the right-hand side of our screen. His route's going to win over the top. Again, the outside linebacker's compressed or condensed here. It appears as if, they know it. The Rams, know what's coming, which is kind of unusual because it's a pistol set, and I don't remember the Seahawks being in pistol a whole lot, number one. Number two, certainly don't remember a whole lot of option looks under Clint Kubiak here in 2025. If you are in the option, you're normally going to read the edge defender, and Sam Darnold's clearly not. If you don't know much about option stuff, they're not going to always have their face mask looking directly at the read man. Oftentimes it's going to be like a 45-degree angle or maybe a 60-degree angle out of your eye. It's whatever a person is able to do with their eyes and their face masks. So quarterbacks historically had such open face masks, but check out this throw. It looks simple. Darnold moving to his left, and Barner actually didn't just chip the safety. He kind of just hip tosses him a little bit and gets him off of him. That inside linebacker is covering Barner underneath, and so Darnold's going to work it over the top. Perfectly lofted throw to JSN right over the top. I mean, it was a great moment. I was a little worried that they would call that he didn't have control, but we shouldn't doubt JSN. Really, to be honest with you, it's who he is at this point in 2025 or early 2026. That allowed Seattle to get another set of downs. Unfortunately, they weren't able to punch the football in there and only took a 10-3 lead. After that play, however, I was like, okay, they're going to score again. It's going to be 14-3, and a lot of pressure is going to be on the Rams. As an aside, for some reason I skipped or didn't save the 3rd and goal incompletion to Barner here, where I do think there's a lane for Sam Darnold to get him the football. But perhaps, he ends up throwing it low because of the safety to the outside in a corner, basically a lane that he thought he perceived to be smaller. And so that's one of the reasons why Barner didn't get an opportunity to catch the football and maybe make it a 14-3 lead. All right, so we moved here to the 5th possession. We're into the second quarter, and the field is flipped number 1. So is the score. The Rams are up 13-10 at this point. By the way, the 4th possession, a play that I omitted for whatever reason, there's a wide open opportunity for Holani on a 3rd and 9. He kind of chip releases out into the right flats, and Darnold's throw, maybe slightly high, gives him an opportunity at least to catch the football. He's unable to come up with it. And fortunately, Seattle's defense is able to get a stop. So there was an opportunity there for the Rams to actually go up 20-10. But in any case, this is going to be a Tampa 2 coverage, but the way the Rams are trying to get this done is pretty cool. They're running with the motion. So Cooper Kupp's going to motion across and run a wheel. That route isn't drawn to scale. In fact, it's you guys can't see it on your screen. So it's a lot wider route than this. It's actually well off screen like you see there. But in any case, this DB, Lake, is going to run with him, giving Darnold the look that it's going to be man, okay? And then the way that they get this accomplished is really cool. The Rams end up being in a Tampa 2, talking about post-snap, all right? So this safety here, half field, and this safety down here, half the field. And these are the perfect routes to attack it. So I think Kubiak, his offensive staff, did a great job of, in our language, the way that people like us would talk, you and I, we would say they know the coverage. Darnold is probably confirming something pre-snap or post-snap that maybe, myself and included and most other people wouldn't be able to understand. And so sometimes that's why they look in a certain place, because they're confirming the location of a particular player. I can't pretend to tell you what that is here, but what I can tell you is by the routes that are shown, this is the perfect way to attack this Tampa 2. Let's start at the top. Cooper Kupp running that wheel, occupies the corner. The Rams, give them credit. The guy who went in motion with Cooper Kupp here settles into the hook or hook to curl zone. And so they've done a nice job of hiding zone within a man look pre-snap. This is the route that's going to hit to JSN. It's 42 yards. And in fact, I think we're in the final minute of the second quarter, I could be wrong there. But you can see the way that JSN initially makes it look like he's going to go to the corner and then brings that route back across the safety's face. I think it's curl, number 3. He's put in a difficult spot. Why? He's not getting any help from this inside linebacker underneath, who briefly did turn towards his right, the top side of our screen, as if the passing strength was declared up here. And so he's just not running. If this is a Tampa 2, he actually ends up flipping his hips and trying to run with this vertical. I feel like the pass strength pre-motion would have been called down here, but the motion by Kupp actually flips the pass strength. And here's what I mean. You got a receiver and a tight end and 2 receivers up there. So you would certainly call the pass strength to the top. The point is, this safety is left on island, isolated, I guess, because this safety has to deal with the threat of the vertical from Shaheed. And so you've basically removed this guy from the ability to help that safety to the top side curl, And once JSN crosses his face, it's pretty much over. It's a great catch. Big hit by Curl, don't get me wrong, to try to dislodge the football. It's an exceptional throw from Sam Darnold. Maybe I've got my timing wrong, but I have this down as the final minute of the second quarter. You're more than welcome to let me know if I have it wrong there. This is one of a number of examples where the Seahawks, by play call, appear to, quote, know the coverage and have the exact route concepts called to exploit it. And I just think you have to give credit to Clint Kubiak, the offensive staff, the pass game coordinator / designer. Those guys were on point, and they needed to be, right? Because the Seahawks defense was struggling with Stafford and McVay and Puka Nacua once again. This is the very next snap. Like I said, I think we're in the final minute of the second quarter, but I recognize, I could be wrong there. In any case, it's the fifth possession, and as I mentioned a moment ago, in the fourth possession, Holani had a drop. This is fantastic design, number one, by Kubiak to get him open. It's a simple concept, don't get me wrong, but it's also great trust by Darnold to get him the ball. So it's a two-high safety structure for the Rams, and I think they're in their dime look. So you've got a nickel DB, dime DB here. Those could be inverted. The point is you do not have two inside linebackers on the field. Post-snap, this ends up being a quarter, half, or a cover six. And the way that they get this done, first of all, it's not just that Kubiak has the right call for the coverage, quarter, half, or cover six. It's that he has the right call or right routes for the cover two side. Cover six is a combination of cover two and cover four. So here's the cover two side, a deep safety, deep half safety, corner sitting in the flats. To the top side, you've got 1/4, that's the quarter. So that's the idea behind, I guess, calling it cover six. You got 4 to one side, 2 to the other. 4 plus 2 is 6. So the way that the routes work out to perfectly attack this is Barner is going to go to the outside shoulder of this nickel DB. Could be a dime linebacker, depends on where they're calling the passing strength. So what it does is it really isolates him to the bottom side of our screen, the right-hand side for the Seahawks offense. So here's what I'm talking about. Holani's route is going to go underneath. Watch the leverage that the tight end runs this route with. So he's refusing to allow this DB to cross his face, get to the outside, where he could theoretically get to the outside and do what Nick Manwari and so many of the second-level defenders for the Seahawks do, which is come downhill quickly and make a tackle immediately after the ball is caught. Barner has forced this DB to go a little bit further downfield than maybe he wanted to. It also looks like he's oriented himself to play man there, to be honest with you. But JSN's got an outside release to kind of widen up this corner. Kubiak, to me, was on point with his play calls when it was go time for the pass game. Late here in the second quarter, number one, or on third downs. And I love the design here. Even if this guy's reacting, quote, wrong, and he's playing man when he shouldn't be, the idea here is that the release of Barner kind of safeguards or prevents him from being able to climb over the top and come downhill to tackle Holani. And then Holani just adds yards after the catch by juking the inside linebacker, right, and getting a 13-yard gain. I just like the fact that they went to Holani, that Darnold has trust in him, Kubiak has trust in him, even after he had a drop on a 3rd and 9 on the previous possession. So this is the very next snap, and it's another opportunity for me to try to explain to you the design element of the pass game that Kubiak utilized, or this concept he used here. And if I don't do a good job of it, blame me, because what Kubiak and those guys came up with, I thought was in a lot of ways superior to what McVay and the Rams offense presented. So they're going to take a 17-13 lead. This is, of course, the touchdown to JSN, where he lines up in the backfield. Very similar to the way that Kupp lined up in the backfield earlier on in the play that I showed you that was going, right to left on our screen. So a lot to talk about. Shaheed, Kupp, JSN, all on the same side. The only difference is JSN is in the backfield. Both of these defenses, the Rams and the Seahawks, they had extreme difficulty dealing with these receivers lined up in the backfield. But first of all, watch Shaheed's route. It's going to be vertical enough that it occupies the outside corner. So it prevents that outside corner from doing anything to deal with where JSN's route is going to end up. Essentially, they're giving him some eye candy, if you will, with that vertical. In addition to that, watch Kupp press to the outside and then bring his route back in between the left hash and the top of the numbers. When I say the top of the numbers, I'm talking about the top of that 2 there, the top of the 10 here, and the top of the 10 there. So between the top of the numbers and the hash is where Kupp's going to bring his route back onto. And JSN fits between there. So the space that's created by Kupp briefly going to the outside, JSN fits between there. They've occupied the corner with Shaheed's semi-vertical route. He's actually going to bring it, back in here towards the A. It's a funnel, essentially, for JSN to run between. I love the precision that the Kubiak pass game showed against the Rams. In my opinion, you're looking at 3 separate, yes, McDonald and Durday's defense has had trouble matching up with Stafford and Nakua and those guys, but 3 separate games, I think you're talking about 414 yards, 411 yards, and then 396 generated by Seattle's offense. Darnold, one of, I think, 3 or 4 opportunities for us to talk about his toughness, because he takes a shot here. You can see the corner and the safety with Shaheed. You can see this DB, perhaps nickel safety, dealing with Cooper Kupp. Wide open for JSN. That one puts them up 17-13. Both defenses had trouble with wide receivers at the running back position. I'll try to get a video out at some point Tuesday on Seattle's defense. This was a critical moment, or sequence, I should say. First possession of the third quarter. First possession for Seattle, that is. Of course, they had to punt. And then Derek Young hustles down there. I think he beats Forbes to the outside. Gets the muffed punt. Very next snap, the thing that I like about Kubiak for this game, he knew when to attack and maybe even where. Now perhaps they catch the Rams in something anomalous or random, the convergence of the play call here and what the Rams utilize from a defensive standpoint. So here's what I mean. JSN's lined up at the bottom side of the screen. It's 12 personnel. And initially, the Rams are in, a too-high safety structure. Watch JSN point down here at the bottom side. He knows that Forbes is going to blitz. We're talking about JSN's arm come up here at the bottom side. He's telling Sam Darnold, okay, that guy's going to blitz. And I think it's because the Rams believe that Seattle's going to run the football here. Just had the muffed punt. Normally when you blitz a corner or someone off the edge, the defensive line is going to slant in the same direction. That's kind of what happens here. These orange arrows are probably a little bit too distinct. That's not exactly the path that those guys will take from this angle that we see. But this is very similar. The route to Bobo, very similar to the route that JSN ran for the 42-yard gain late in the second quarter. The only difference is here, we're under center, and that Darnold is looking to the bottom side immediately upon the snap. So what I'm talking about is where his eyes are here. You've got safety rotating down to take the place of this corner. The other safety rotating over. So functionally, the way that it works out ends up being a double team on JSN to the bottom side of our screen, the right-hand side for Seattle's offense. Darnold knows exactly where to go to. He comes back to Jake Bobo, puts a great move on, I think that's Durant, by hedging to the outside and then bringing it back into like the H in Seahawks. It's a great move, man. I said it a couple of times here recently. I think Bobo is a guy who, in a different situation or with more opportunities, we don't wish injury on anyone, certainly not anyone on the Seahawks team, but if he had more opportunities, he's definitely a guy who could come out there and play more snaps and get 40, 45 catches in the season and 5 touchdowns in. This was a great moment that really established a double-digit lead that Seattle would grab, one more time. 24-13 here after the muff punt. You have to talk about Bobo twice in the playoffs. He had the 3rd and 10 conversion last week against the 49ers. The game's still close at that point. I think it's in the second quarter. Here, a very strategic, efficient play from a Sam Darnold perspective. And you also have to talk about the location of this football. Yes, the safeties. The safety has moved himself out of the way. There's 2 safeties here. One of them's there, and there's Curl rotating over. So there's no one in the middle of the field to possibly make a play. But he puts this out in front for only Jake Bobo to go get and to give Seattle an 11-point lead. Unfortunately, the Rams were able to just zip down the field in 4 plays. I think 4 plays, 88 yards or 86 yards, something like that, and get back to within 1 score at 24-20. This is a huge moment. it's a great setup from a personnel standpoint for Seattle. You've got JSN on the inside, Shaheed as the point man, which means he's on the line of scrimmage, and then Cooper Kupp to the outside. So your best three receivers are set up to the same side of the field. If a defense is going to play man, they're going to give it away here, right? Because you've got JSN, Shaheed, and Kupp all on the same side. So they get a pretty good idea of the fact that it's going to be zone number one. My suspicion is that Kubiak and or Darnold, once they saw that it was not man, that there was not a man setup, meaning this corner wasn't going all the way over to try to match those three receivers. It is 11 personnel, like I said, on a 3rd and 9. Kupp's going to run a delayed route here after Shaheed and JSN's verticals kind of switch. So Shaheed's running the vertical. He ends up kind of staying near the top of the numbers. And then JSN's route is going to almost act as like a corner or a flag, if you will. Cooper Kupp's got a little bit of a delayed route. Again, Shaheed is acting as the clear out, and you get what I would consider to be, it's almost like a cover 6 / quarter half, but there's a little bit of a Tampa 2 flavor to this, and I'm talking about this safety here. So the way that the Rams play this, or the way that it works out, if you agree with me, if you want to call it a cover 2 or quarter half, is that you've got this guy getting depth and this guy getting depth, who is an outside corner, okay? That's normally how you can tell. Actually, it's a safety. My apologies for that. So this could just functionally be another, what some people are referring to as ITT, a regular Tampa 2. And that is JSN's route, kind of the corner or the flag. Shaheed on the vertical concept up to the top of the numbers. And Kupp just beats this DB out to the bottom of the numbers. It's a great setup. 3 receivers to the field. And Max Pro, look at what Seattle has done. No routes down here to the bottom side of the field at all. With it being zone, essentially, the Rams have wasted 3 or maybe some would even say 4 of their zone defenders. And whether you want to add this guy in there or not, it's either a 3-on-3 to the top side of the field or a 4-on-3. Kupp wins. Darnold makes the right decision. Darnold's throw is a little bit low here. I wonder if maybe Kupp wasn't supposed to go as far, but I think Kupp, just being super intelligent, knows that this DB is off. This safety is off. Actually, that's a corner. And so maybe Kupp is thinking, I'm just going to run out here to the sideline, and that's not where Darnold throws it. I might be wrong there, but Darnold's throw is definitely a little lower. Fortunately, Kupp's able to catch it, get 12 yards out of it, converting a 3rd and 9 there. It's only 24-20. The Rams, like I said, had scored in 4 plays. Their offense ended up surging in the third quarter. The next time they got the ball, they scored in 5 plays. That was a big moment, getting that conversion. Kubiak and the offensive staff setting up 3 receivers to one side. Either A, revealing the fact that it wasn't man, probably narrowed down the available possibilities that Kupp and Darnold knew they were going to see, and what route/throw they needed to make to get the conversion. All right, this is the same drive. Like I said, and it's another 3rd down. In fact, it's a 3rd and 3. This is going to be the touchdown to Cooper Kupp. I think, again, have an opportunity to talk about the design from Kubiak and the offensive staff, but also the gravity that JSN can offer. So same setup as before. JSN, the inside receiver, the number 3, which means he's closest to the right tackle, Abe Lucas. The point man is Shaheed, which means he's on the line of scrimmage, and the outside receiver is Cooper Kupp. It's the same look as the previous play that I just showed you, the 3rd and 9 conversion. Except the only difference is Kupp is going to break to the inside as opposed to breaking out. So you got running back and tight end set up on the backside. So here's the routes and the conflict that really is created. JSN's going to pull this inside linebacker with his little in cut. Then this goes down as a touchdown, but keep in mind it's a 3rd and 3. Okay, so the line to gain is the 10-yard line. I believe it's the 10-yard line, and Kupp's just going to kind of sit down between that defender and that defender right there, and it's because of JSN's route that really draws that inside linebacker in and opens up that space. Perfect timing. It's not just the design of the routes. It's when Cooper Kupp and those guys are getting there. I guess one difference from the previous play is that now you've got the tight end and the running back, actually running a route here. I don't know that that has a trickle-down effect on how this is defended at all. Basically, Kupp fits between those two defenders. It really ends up looking like, to me, a red zone cover 3, where you've got 3 deep defenders, underneath guys, 4, and then a 4-man rush. That really fits a red zone cover 3, if you ask me. But it's a great design. Timing from Darnold, who once again takes another shot, and then the timing of the route, opening up after this inside linebacker kind of hedges in this direction with JSN a little bit late. Cooper Kupp onto this space. Another of his 3 third-down conversions. This one puts Seattle up 31-20. I went back and looked at some of the data on third downs in the road loss in, I think, week 11. Seattle was 7 of 16 on third downs, and I believe 1 of 2 on fourth downs. In the week 16 win at home, right, the comeback win, they were 4 of 11. Well, this week, 7 of 13. So pretty good overall. It seemed to me, however, when they needed important third downs, at least this game against the Rams, he was going to Cooper Kupp in some of those big situations. I'll show the 3rd and 7, the big one that's kind of controversial here in a moment. This is actually a failed third down. We're early into the fourth quarter. There's been 28 points scored in the third quarter. As an aside, I should mention the Rams were, I think, 1 of 7 or maybe 1 of 8 on third down. So dramatically different than what Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak and those guys were able to accomplish. So there's a 3rd and 10. And because of the way that Darnold looks down here at first, he's going to look to JSN. And the way it's defended by Forbes for a moment, he's late getting to Shaheed. Now, I don't mean that Darnold does this incorrectly. What I'm saying is he's looking to the bottom side first to JSN. You can't blame him. And then working left to right for anyone, but also for a right-handed quarterback, you have to resituate your body. Look at where his shoulders are faced now as a right-handed quarterback. And then to be able to go back to the top side, there has to be some turning in a clockwise fashion of your body to come back to, this route by Rashid Shaheed. If he had been there a little bit earlier, then he's throwing this football to Shaheed, and we're getting a conversion. It ends up making him late. I don't think Darnold really made a mistake here. He got through so many of his reads extremely quickly in this game. Some contact by number 10. I think it's Josiah Stewart, the rookie outside linebacker from Michigan. Defense was fortunately able to get a stop. This third down failure here happened with 12:29 left. I'm considering doing a film study of that drive. I'm talking about the Rams' offensive drive that lasts 7 minutes and ends with the PD, the pass defense by Witherspoon, in the end zone on the 4th and goal, I think from the 4. So I don't know if I want to do a film study of the whole thing, but I definitely want to do something talking about the Seahawks defense, showing what I believe is at least 2 examples of low awareness that's somewhat surprising. But in this case, after the failed third down, the defense was able to get a stop finally down there in the end zone and get the ball back to the offense with, I think, just inside of 5 minutes left. Really, another really well-designed pass play that opens up the field for Cooper Kupp first. Well, this is a 3rd and 7 with about 3:30 left when the ball is snapped, somewhere in that range. Again, this is after the stop on 4th and goal by Witherspoon against the tight end in the back of the end zone. So it's going to be a completion to Cooper Kupp from the top side. There's a lot of motion that's happening here, or shifts, and I think that's just Darnold trying to figure out, okay, what is the coverage? And since you've got a running back out here and then a tight end lined up there, he's going to basically shift the tight end to the other side and move the running back into the backfield. In my opinion, this is all just to figure out what the coverage actually is. And you can see number 2 is to the side of Barner once he motioned across. And number 2 and 53 were both down here when the running back and the tight end were down here. And so what I believe you've got here is just an attempt by Seattle to confirm what the coverage is. Great example of another vertical clear out by Shaheed. Of course, they hit that right on the first third down, the first play of this video that I showed you. You're going to get Kupp motioning down to almost a stack alignment. And that will clear up his release, I guess, make it a little easier for him to A, release, and then B, run onto this space where, he just has to win. In addition, late in the route, possibility for JSN to get the ball in this kind of in cut, but the safety for on that side of the field for the Rams is going to kind of take that away. Darnold had already gotten rid of the football, but in any case, you got one safety handles the vertical by Shaheed. The other safety is going to help out or hedge down on that route by JSN. Leaves the one-on-one for Cooper Kupp, and this is why you signed him. Maybe not a burner at this point, but enough speed when you give him this type of release. We're talking about the corner can't necessarily run through JSN right now. He's either got to go underneath or try to go over top, and watch the way those corners moved or shifted their alignment with the motion. So the guy who's on JSN backs up, and that just clears the lane for, I think that's Durant, to try to run with Cooper Kupp. So Kubiak and the offensive staff have just given him a cleaner release, if you will, and you can see the way that this works out. I thought he was short from the end zone angle. I'll be honest with you, I recognize people aren't going to like me saying that. I'm just telling you what I thought. It was a great opportunity, though, for Cooper Kupp to show why he was brought in, and it worked out. I mean, those guys trusted him in that moment. He's a part of the design. The three-headed monster that they've got between Shaheed, JSN, and Cooper Kupp just gives them so many options. And in this case, he got an important win, gets the conversion. McVay, all the controversy about replay assist and all of that. I just know it's a great play. That's all I know. Personally thought he was short. I really don't care whether I'm right or wrong. I could certainly be wrong. What I do know is it's a great play by Cooper Kupp. Exceptional design by Clint Kubiak. I think Kubiak has got the better of their defensive coordinator, 3 times. And in this case, he used Cooper Kupp brilliantly to get his third clutch third down conversion. One of them was a touchdown. This one allowed them to hold on to the football, inside of 3 minutes left. I guess it was actually like 3:20, 3:22 left or something like that as that one is completed, because we're at the 3:05 mark here. On the very next 2 snaps later, it's a 2nd and 10, and JSN is up to the top side. Watch the reaction that the Rams defense has off this play action concept. So the running back's going to go downhill. First you get Shaheed on a wheel, and again, you kind of lose that route a little bit there. It's not drawn to scale. His route actually is wider. It's out beyond the bottom of the numbers, but you guys don't see the bottom of the numbers up there, or you just barely do with the 40 at least. It's a great play call, and I think it really plays upon the fact that so often off play action, JSN is running across the field on a deep over concept. But the motion by Shaheed really kind of gives this away, if you ask me. First, the Rams switch their coverage. The outside corner is on JSN, and then on the motion, they get the safety, I think it's Lake, down on him. So off the play action, this is the route that I think these guys are looking for. And I think Lake, who had outside leverage, check out the leverage that he's got. I think that's the route that he's looking for. And it's got to be difficult. It's a two-way go for JSN. He actually ends up running this route onto the space that's created by Shaheed's clear out. Consistently, you see these clear out routes opening up access to areas of the field the last 2 plays, right? The 3rd and 7 to Cooper Kupp that I just showed you. And then here, JSN's going to bring that route back to the top side. Look at the way these guys are orienting. Forbes and the safety. Both are looking directly at JSN. They're thinking he's coming across the field like this route here. It's a great call by Kubiak. And then Darnold senses some pressure, I guess. But look at the pass protection, the way that they're trying to get this done. You do have 2 tight ends down here at the bottom side. They're both going to deal with the edge defender. You have a double team here. Running back presumably could help out. They're trying to basically max protect this. I think this is all designed to go to JSN up to the top side, exactly where Darnold goes with it. The only difference is Darnold had to kind of maybe ad-lib it a little bit because he had perceived pressure off the right side, I think by the defensive tackle, Fisk, who was a huge problem. This was a big play. This one was actually right around the 3-minute mark. I think I misspoke a moment ago. They get to keep the football. The first down on the 3rd and 7 to Cooper Kupp. The first down here on the 2nd and 10 to JSN. They did actually get one more first down via penalty. and then 3 plays later had to punt, and the Rams didn't get the ball back until 31 seconds left. So even though in the end, Seattle wasn't able to go down and score, they didn't need to, right? They were up 31-27. All they needed to do was either A, run out the clock, or B, leave Matt Stafford, not nearly enough time with no timeouts remaining. And that was mission accomplished there. They were definitely helped by the muffed punt in the third quarter. The Rams special teams were pretty terrible this year, but you have to give credit to Sam Darnold, Clint Kubiak, all of the guys on the offensive side, particularly as it relates to the pass game. Darnold, 25 of 36 passing, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. There were times he dealt with pressure. I didn't necessarily focus on it or illustrate it here, but the Rams D-line was getting after. They sacked him 3 times. I thought Bradford had trouble at the right guard position in pass pro. That definitely looks like a spot where you would expect the Patriots to try to attack, and they've got 2 really talented defensive tackles. But Darnold spread the ball around to this group: JSN, Kupp, Rashid Shaheed, and Walker. He was 19 of 25 passing. Of course, JSN carried the torch, right? But every guy added to the formula. Kupp had the 3 third down wins. All of them were important, right? Definitely the one that puts him up 31-20 in the third quarter, the touchdown on 3rd and 3. Clutch, tough, but the timing of when he's making his move, I think, is perfect. And then the 3rd and 7 to allow that final drive for Seattle, to continue. They got 2 more first downs thereafter. Shaheed had the big play, the 51-yarder on the 3rd and 5. That one let the Rams know that they had to account for the threat. Now, compare that play, which was the first one of this video, to the last one I just showed. Shaheed going in motion, running the wheel, absolutely clearing that corner out of there. I think when you're talking about the Kubiak pass game, whoever is the pass game coordinator, everyone's involved from an offensive staff. Look at what they did first play to last. Well, first play of this video to last. I know there was 4 more plays thereafter. JSN's route runs onto the space created by Shaheed. It was a wheel, so it's a little bit different than the 3rd and 5 that I showed you, but hopefully you get the point, right? The design, the usage of the personnel, where the routes were run in particular situations. I think the whole thing was on point. Kenneth Walker had 62 yards rushing, but I think he had 49 yards receiving on 4 catches. Holani had the one nice catch that I think is pretty obvious that it's intentionally designed to go to him, and then JSN. He's an all-pro. In my opinion, he's as good as it gets in the NFL at his position. Definitely the best wide receiver that I saw this year. The Patriots are going to have to account for all the different spots, all the different ways that Kubiak uses him, where he lines up, what he can do. And they've played great defense, but it's my opinion right now, and this is before I begin any Patriots film study, this Seahawks offense is one that is different from what they've faced so far, in that not only does Kubiak and Seattle have a, to some extent, take what you give them mentality, but they can score from those approaches, right? With the run game, it's been tremendous lately. Came into this game, I think, averaging 172 on the ground, 171, somewhere. It's been, great for them, particularly Kenneth Walker. The Rams limited that, and then Sam Darnold goes off for 346 yards. You have to credit Kubiak, the offensive staff, for the design of some of these plays, but also the timing of when they called them and the timing of how the routes exploited each individual coverage. That's preparation. Preparation is knowing what coverage is probably going to be played and then having one of your play concepts designed to fit and exploit that coverage. I think they did that perfectly. The Rams defensive coordinator, defensive staff, they do a great job. Don't get me wrong. In this one, once again, I think they got outcoached. They gave up 396 total yards to Seattle, 8.2 yards per pass, and that's after adjustment for sacks. I think 7 of 13 on third downs for the Seahawks, and all of that was while the run game was really shut down in the second half. Walker got loose a little bit early. I think Kubiak here proved himself to be a serious offensive play caller. You knew that already as a Seahawks fan. But in this moment, NFC Championship game, second half, and on third downs, throughout the game, when they needed their best from a pass game standpoint, from a conceptual standpoint, timing, and then matching those things with the coverage, their preparation was as good as it gets. And then the decisions Kubiak made from a play caller standpoint were even better. Yes, New England has only given up 26 points so far in the playoffs. I think I have that number right. But they have not faced an offense like this one, number one. Number two, I don't think they have faced a play caller who is operating at this high a level with the run and the pass game at the same time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If I wasn't able to explain or do justice to the way that Kubiak had these plays set up and created or crafted, then that's my fault. The limitation is my own. He did a great job. Sam Darnold, obviously, is an extension of him. Physically on the field, 25 completions for 346 yards is amazing. But of those 25 completions, 19 of them went for first downs. I think that's pretty incredible. You guys let me know what you think of the video in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look, although it's a rather lengthy one, but this film study look at the Sam Darnold, Clint Kubiak, JSN production that got them to their third Super Bowl, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.